Hey y'all, Matt here from RetroOnly.com. Today we're going to be answering another question about the GameCube. And that question is, are GameCube controllers good? Before we get into that, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, as it really helps us out. You can also feel free to comment below if you have any other questions about the GameCube or about really any retro games that you like. And if you have questions about it, feel free to ask. We'd love to answer them or even to make a video. So, are GameCube controllers good? I have 4 GameCube controllers here in front of me. As you can see, some of them are starting to show signs of wear. You can see right here the little plastic is starting to break off. So of course you'd think the answer would be no. But in my opinion, they really are good. They're good quality. They're made good quality. Let's start with that. The quality of the GameCube controllers. Are they good quality? I personally believe that yes, they are. All 4 of these GameCube games or GameCube controllers, I should say, not games, I have had since 2002. I've had all these controllers. So going on 2 decades, these controllers have been either in my house as a kid, have been in my dorm room as a college student, have been in moving boxes as I've moved across the country, have gone through multiple children. I now have 3 kids, and all of these controllers have survived being played with. The purple one, or blue, depending on what you personally believe it is the only one that the plastic is starting to degrade a little bit on the controller here. That's the only one. All the other ones are fine, and the reason for that is because this is the one I almost always played with growing up. So I would virtually always use this one, and then these were the ones I'd use when friends would come over, when I was playing with my family, those sorts of things. So quality-wise, our GameCube controller is good. My experience, my answer of having these for almost 2 decades, the answer is yes. They really are good quality controllers. Now, are they good in relation to how you play the games? Yes and no. They're not as good as many modern day controllers are. For example, for the PS4, for the Xbox One, or even for the PS5 that's about to be released. All of these controllers aren't necessarily as good. They don't have as many functionalities. But they did perfect for the GameCube and for the games of their times. Being that they're virtually 2 decades old, they did pretty good. They had all the functionalities that you need. They've held up well, as I said, they're good quality. But also they provided you to do whatever you needed with them. So all the functions that you needed in your GameCube games, they provided it. The setup was good. A little bit odd to have the layout of them is a little bit odd, especially when compared to, say, modern day controllers. So the layout was a little bit funky on them. But back in the day, we didn't have modern day controllers to compare them to. So everyone thought they were great. One big plus of GameCube controllers versus some of the older controllers. Now, I'm not comparing them to the wireless controllers of today, but to some of the older controllers was the fact that the cords were pretty long. The cords on these original GameCube controllers were actually about 6.5 foot long. They were about 78 inches. So 77.5 inches all the way to the nub right here is how long the actual cord is. And you'd lose a little bit of that when you plugged it in. So it'd be about 77 inches or so, or 6 foot 5 inches is how long you'd have for the controller cord. Now in today's standards, that doesn't seem very long. We're used to using wireless controllers for everything. Right now, I am in my living area here. I've got my TV mounted on the wall behind me. And so all of my game systems, if they have wireless controllers, I definitely prefer it. Because I sit on the couch, I sit on the floor, normally the couch. And so not having to worry about those cords running in between you and the TV that's mounted on the wall makes things great. But back in the day, having a 6.5 foot long cord was plenty. It was way longer than the NES offered, way longer than the Super Nintendo offered. So having that length of cord on the GameCube controllers was good. Overall, are GameCube controllers good? Again, I personally believe that they are. The fact that they've lasted so long, they still function perfectly, and I promise you these have not been well taken care of. Okay, I promise. The different games that I played, the different things that I did with myself, my siblings growing up, the way these controllers were used, they were never taken care of properly. They were never set out or had a specific spot where they would not get, no, they got tripped over, they got tangled up, they got yanked out of here, they got pushed and pulled apart, and they still work. 2 decades later, these GameCube controllers still work. I wish I could say that about my iPhone charger. You know, I got an iPhone charger, I'll plug it in, pull it out, plug it in, pull it out, and I'm relatively gentle with it. You know, I don't pull it apart or any of those sorts of things like I know has happened to these GameCube controller cords. And I'll still have to replace the charger for my iPhone every year-ish or so. My kids have iPads that they use. We'll have to replace the charging cords multiple times a year because they're not even as gentle as I am. And I've tried everything, and it doesn't matter. I've tried this cord, and I've tried that cord, and I've tried official from Apple, and I've tried not official, and I've tried the ones that are indestructible, and all of them break after a short period of time. Either they start to break, or they just stop working. These GameCube controllers, 2 decades of use, and these cords somehow, being made 20 years ago, are better than what Apple can produce right now. Like, how? How is that possible? GameCube controllers are good. Now, when compared to modern controllers, I would choose a wireless controller over a wired GameCube controller any day of the week. I would much rather be able to sit comfortably on the couch, not have to worry about my dog pulling on the cord, not have to worry about my kids tripping over the cord, not have to worry about my wife yelling at me that the cords are laying all over the floor. Don't tell her I said that. But I would much rather have wireless controllers. So for my Xbox One, I got wireless controllers. For all of my, I got an NES Classic when it came out. What was one of the first things I bought? A wireless controller for it. The SNES Classic, the exact same thing. Wireless controller for it. Simply because it's so much more convenient in today's world that we live in. But GameCube controllers, they are good. If you buy good controllers. Now, whether third-party controllers are good or not, they obviously make all sorts of third-party GameCube controllers that you can buy. Whether those are worthwhile to spend the money on or not, honestly, I can't say. I have only ever bought the official GameCube controllers. And again, these were purchased almost 2 decades ago. So whether nowadays they're made with not as good of quality, that's certainly possible. But Nintendo tends to do a really good job. So if you buy official Nintendo products, I would expect them to be good as well. If you even get them from, say, a thrift store. Maybe you go to a Goodwill and you find a used GameCube controller. Well, I don't have any way of testing it. Is it worth the risk? I'd say yeah. I know these have been abused. I know it. I used them. I had friends that abused them. I had siblings that tore them up or that pulled them out and tripped over them and everything else that could possibly happen to these GameCube controllers, and they still work. So if you're at a pawn shop or a thrift store or a yard sale or even on eBay and you're like, oh, I don't know if this works or not. Should I get it? Should I not get it? It's probably worth the gamble because GameCube controllers are that good. The quality on them is good. And really, there's not a whole lot that can break. You can break the stick, I guess technically, like it's starting to break a little bit there. But buttons all still work just fine. Z button on the back still works just fine. All of these, after 2 decades of playing, all work still just fine. They still kick back to the middle just fine, even after all of the use that I've put them through. So GameCube controllers are really a good controller, especially when you compare it to the quality of some things today that just aren't very good. My name's Matt from RetroOnly.com. I hope this answers the question about whether GameCube controllers are good. Feel free to check out our website, RetroOnly.com. Also, feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. We'd love to hear any comments that you have as well, whether you like this video, hate this video, or just simply have a question about GameCubes or any other retro gaming consoles. We'd love to answer those as well. Have a great day.